The train lurched as it rolled into Easton Central Station, its brakes screeching against the steel. Marcus Hale felt the vibration climb through the soles of his shoes, steadying himself with one hand on the metal pole. Morning commuters pushed toward the doors, but he stayed still, watching the fluorescent lights flicker overhead. Something in the air felt off. Too quiet, too watchful. A uniformed police officer stood on the platform, eyes locked on him the instant the doors slid open. Her jaw tightened. The radio at her shoulder crackled, but she didn't touch it. She stepped forward with the kind of certainty that made Marcus's stomach drop. "You," she snapped, pointing at him as passengers froze around them. "Step off the train. Now." Marcus blinked. "Is there a problem, officer?" "Don't play smart," she said, voice sharp enough to cut glass. "We received a report about a suspicious black male matching your description." The words hit him harder than the cold air outside the carriage. Passengers looked away. Some pretended to check their phones. Others whispered. Someone backed up as though Marcus carried something contagious. He swallowed the heat rising in his chest. "I'm just commuting to work," he said quietly. "Turn around." She reached for her cuffs. "Hands behind your back." Before he could speak, the metallic click echoed through the station, loud, humiliating. And as she pushed him toward the wall, Marcus noticed something chilling. A second officer watching from afar, already smiling, as if he knew exactly who Marcus really was. But she didn't. Not yet. The morning rush at Easton Central Station surged like a restless tide. Shoes clattering, voices blending into a hum, announcements echoing off tiled walls. Marcus Hale stepped off the train with a steady breath, briefcase in hand, eyes forward. He had always moved through public spaces with quiet caution, aware of how quickly a routine commute could twist into something else. He didn't expect it to happen today. Not before 9 a.m. Not in front of hundreds of people. "Hey, you!" A sharp voice cut through the air. Marcus stopped. "Turn." Officer Dana Kirkland stood a few paces away, shoulders squared, one hand hovering near her duty belt. Her gaze fixed on him with an intensity that made the space around them freeze. Marcus raised a calm hand. "Officer, something wrong." She stepped closer, ignoring the commuters who slowed to watch. "We received a report of a suspicious black male on the train. Matches your description." Marcus felt the words sink. Heavy, predictable, exhausting. "What description is that?" "You know exactly what I mean," she snapped. "No," he replied softly. "I really don't." Her partner, Officer Grant, lingered behind her, arms crossed, amused smirk curling his lips as if the morning's entertainment had just begun. Dana motioned to Marcus's briefcase. "What's in there?" "My work documents. Laptop. Standard items for commuting." "Open it." He exhaled. "Is there a reason for this search?" "You're acting nervous." "I'm acting confused," Marcus said. "This is unnecessary." "Step aside," Dana ordered, voice rising. "Hands where I can see them." A few people paused to watch, some whispering, others lifting their phones. The ones who looked most uncomfortable were also the ones who stepped back farthest, as if neutrality required distance. Marcus didn't move. "Officer, I haven't done anything." Grant laughed under his breath. "They always say that." The word struck Marcus like a slap. He clenched his jaw, forcing calm into his voice. "I'm heading to a meeting. Please don't escalate this." Dana's eyes hardened. "Turn around. Hands behind your back." "Officer." That wasn't a request. The cold cuff closed around his wrist before he could finish. The commuters gasped, and the metallic clack echoed beneath the station's vaulted ceiling. Marcus felt heat rise under his collar, humiliation burning slow and deep. "Stop resisting," Dana barked, though he wasn't resisting. "I'm not," he said, voice low. "You fit the report," she insisted. Dark jacket, gray slacks, mid-40s, suspicious behavior. Marcus swallowed. Standing on a train is suspicious now? She tightened the second cuff. Watch your tone. Marcus forced his breathing steady as she steered him toward the wall. A mother tugged her child aside. A man with headphones shook his head but kept walking. A young woman hesitated, phone lifted halfway as if unsure whether filming would help or make her a target too. He caught her eyes. She looked away. Officer Kirkland, Marcus said carefully. You're making a mistake. Doubt it, she muttered. Grant leaned in close, voice dripping with smugness. Rough morning for you, huh? Marcus didn't respond. He knew silence could speak louder than anything right now. Dana lifted her radio. Suspect detained. Bringing him in for questioning. Suspect. He stared at the floor tiles, their pattern blurring as anger tightened inside him. He had lived this dynamic before. Presumed threat first, human second. Or not human at all. Let's move, she ordered. They marched him through the station, past travelers who pretended not to stare. Each step felt heavier than the last. Officer, Marcus tried again, call the transit authority. They can verify who I am. Dana scoffed. Yeah. And who are you supposed to be? Marcus hesitated. Revealing it now felt like surrendering to a logic he hated. But staying silent let her rewrite him entirely. He chose neither. You'll find out, he said quietly. Grant smirked. Sure we will. As they crossed the corridor toward the precinct office, Marcus glanced back through the glass walls of the station. For a brief second, he met the gaze of a younger trainee officer standing near the security desk. Unlike the others, the trainee didn't look amused. He looked ashamed. And that, more than the cuffs, more than the stares, told Marcus this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a pattern. And it wasn't over. The holding room smelled faintly of old paper and disinfectant, two scents that didn't belong together but somehow always lived in police precincts. Marcus sat on a metal chair bolted to the floor, cuffs finally removed yet his wrists still pulsing with the memory of pressure. A single fluorescent bulb buzzed overhead, flickering like it struggled to stay alive. Officer Dana Kirkland paced in front of him, arms stiff, jaw clenched. Her partner, Grant, lounged against the wall, thumbs hooked into his belt, eyes half-lidded with lazily entertained contempt. Dana tossed a clipboard onto the table between them. Name. Marcus met her stare. Marcus Hale. Spell it. Hale. Grant smirked. Got a middle name too, or should we guess that? Marcus kept his tone level. Is this necessary? It's procedure, Dana snapped. You looked tense on that train. I looked tired, he corrected. The same as every commuter at 8:37 a.m. Grant let out a slow whistle. Man likes to get cute with words. Marcus leaned back slightly, grounding himself. Am I being charged with something? Not yet, Dana said. Depends on what we find. You won't find anything, Marcus replied. Dana raised an eyebrow. Because you're innocent. Because I told you what's in my briefcase, and you refused to check it. She folded her arms. We don't need your permission. Then why didn't you? Marcus asked quietly. For a moment the room held still. Dana blinked, thrown off balance, but only briefly. She lifted the clipboard again. Where were you heading? To my office. Doing what? Preparing for a Monday briefing. Grant chuckled. Briefing for what job exactly? Marcus didn't answer. Not yet. They'd hear it later. From someone with authority they couldn't brush aside. Dana tapped her pen sharply against the table. Mr. Hale, a passenger reported someone acting suspiciously. Dark jacket, gray slacks, standing near the train doors looking around a lot. That fits you. Marcus let out a slow breath. Looking around in a crowded train station is suspicious. It's what we were told. By who? He asked. Anonymous report. Marcus's eyes lowered for a moment. Convenient. Grant stepped forward. You implying we'd lie? I'm saying anonymous descriptions tend to become very selective when the subject is black. Marcus raised his eyes again. History shows that. Statistics show that. My own lived experience shows that. Dana's shrug was sharp. We don't make the descriptions. We act on them. Even when they don't actually describe anything I did. Even when they do, she countered. A long silence stretched between them. From the doorway, the young trainee officer, the same one from the platform, watched with uneasy stillness. His name tag read Reeves. He kept glancing at Marcus, then at Dana, as if trying to figure out how wrong things had already gone. Marcus addressed him gently. Officer Reeves. Is this how holding procedures normally go? Reeves swallowed. I'm not assigned to questioning today, sir. Answer him, Dana snapped. Reeves straightened. The tone is usually different. Grant scoffed. Tone? Since when is tone procedure? Reeves didn't reply, but his eyes lowered to the floor. Marcus turned back to Dana. Thank you for removing the cuffs. Now I'd like to contact the transit authority. No, she said immediately. That's my right. When we finish our questions. You haven't told me why I'm here, Marcus said. You arrested me without verifying anything. You haven't searched my belongings. You haven't checked the report. You haven't even checked the cameras. Because this is still an active investigation, Dana said. Marcus leaned forward slightly. Into what, officer? Dana stared at him but didn't answer. Grant filled the silence instead. Look, Marcus. This will go faster if you stop being defensive. Defensive, Marcus repeated softly. While being detained without cause. That's your opinion, Grant said. It's the truth, Marcus replied. Dana tapped the pen again. Faster this time. Do you have any warrants? Tickets? Prior incidents? Anything you want to tell us? No, Marcus said. And even if I did, you can run my name and find out. Dana didn't move. Marcus held her gaze. Run it. The room tensed. Reeves looked uncertain. Should I? No, Dana snapped. Marcus turned toward her. Why not? Are you afraid the results won't match the accusations? Grant stepped forward. Watch it. Marcus kept his voice calm, breath controlled. What exactly do you think I did, officers? What crime are you investigating? Dana hesitated, just long enough to reveal she had nothing. Finally she said, the report said you were surveying the train, looking for vulnerabilities. Reeves blinked at that. That's not what the call. Dana shot him a glare that silenced him instantly. Marcus inhaled slowly. Surveying the train. That's what suspicious individuals sometimes do before attempting something unlawful. You think I intended to harm someone? Marcus asked, stunned but composed. Dana crossed her arms. We don't rule anything out. Marcus closed his eyes briefly. He had seen this pattern before. Accusation inflating to justify the arrest retroactively. A staircase of assumptions stacked on nothing but bias. I'd like my phone, he said quietly. I'm calling the transit authority now. Dana shook her head. You'll wait. Marcus stood. Grant stepped forward aggressively. Sit down. Marcus didn't sit. Either you let me contact the authority, or you run my information. But this limbo ends now. The room stilled again. Reeves spoke softly. Officer Kirkland. Maybe we should verify his ID. It's standard. Dana's jaw tightened. Her authority was cracking and she felt it. Marcus waited, calm but unyielding. Finally, Dana exhaled sharply. Fine. Make your call. But if you're lying. I'm not, Marcus said. And for the first time, a flicker of uncertainty crossed her eyes. Dana slid Marcus's phone across the table with a stiff gesture, as though the device itself offended her. Make it quick, she said. And put it on speaker. Marcus didn't argue. He unlocked the phone with steady fingers, though a tremor flickered in his hand, a mixture of restraint, anger, and something heavier he refused to name. He dialed the transit authority's administrative line. Reeves watched him with wide, uneasy eyes from the doorway. After 2 rings, a calm voice answered. Transit Authority, Department of Network Security. This is Director Lin. Marcus cleared his throat. Director Lin, this is Marcus Hale. A sharp inhale crackled through the speaker. Mr. Hale, are you calling from your office phone? No, Marcus replied. I'm calling from the Easton Central Police holding room. Silence. Then the director's voice hardened instantly. Why? Dana stepped forward. Tell them the truth, she said. Marcus ignored her. I was detained by officers on the platform. They claim I matched a suspicious description. That's not possible, Director Lin said. You weren't scheduled to begin your assignment until Wednesday. But you were supposed to visit the site today for orientation. Her tone shifted, clipped with worry. Are you all right? Grant muttered under his breath. Orientation. Dana's eyes narrowed. What assignment? Marcus kept his voice level. Director Lin, could you please inform these officers of my role? Yes, she said. Mr. Hale is the incoming head of transit security for the entire metropolitan network. The air left the room. Grant straightened. Reeves froze. Dana blinked twice, lips parting as if the words had physically struck her. Director Lin continued, voice now sharp as steel. Why was the incoming head of security detained? Who exactly arrested you? Marcus glanced at Dana but didn't answer. Dana stepped forward quickly. He fits the description of a suspicious individual. What description? Director Lin snapped. Anonymous report, Dana said. And what behavior did he display to justify detention? Dana hesitated. He was acting aware, watching the doors, surveying. Director Lin's silence vibrated with disbelief. He was commuting on the system he's being hired to secure. That's literally his job, Grant muttered. He didn't say that. Marcus spoke calmly. You didn't ask. Dana's jaw clenched. We followed procedure. No, the director cut in. You ignored it. You arrested someone without verification, without reasonable suspicion, and without running his ID. That is not procedure. That is incompetence. Reeves flinched, as if he felt the words himself. Dana's voice rose defensively. We acted on a credible call. Credible to whom? Director Lin shot back. Do you realize you've detained the highest-ranking security officer in the network? One who outranks half of your precinct, including your precinct liaison. Marcus watched Dana's face pale, but there was no satisfaction in it. Only a low, hollow ache. He had seen this before. Respect arriving too late. Recognition replacing suspicion only after a title was named. Director Lin, Marcus said gently. I'm all right. Just ready to be released. You will be released immediately, she ordered. And I'm on my way there now. Dana straightened as though bracing for impact. There's no need. There is every need, the director said. Stay where you are. And do not touch Mr. Hale again. The call ended abruptly. A heavy silence settled. Grant was the first to break it. Head of Transit Security. Reeves swallowed. Sir, I'm so sorry. I didn't. Marcus raised a hand kindly. I know. Dana inhaled sharply. Why didn't you just say who you were? Marcus met her eyes, calm but colder now. Because my name should have been enough. My behavior should have been enough. My humanity should have been enough. Dana pressed her lips together. You made this harder by withholding. No, Marcus said quietly. You made this harder by assuming. Grant muttered. This is getting dramatic. Officer Grant, Marcus said, voice steady. When you laughed at me on the platform. What exactly was funny? Grant's smirk disappeared. I didn't mean anything by it. You never do, Marcus murmured. Reeves stepped closer, guilt etched across his face. Mr. Hale, is there anything I can do to help fix this? Marcus didn't look at Dana or Grant when he answered. Just tell the truth. Dana bristled. We acted on information provided. Which you never verified, Marcus said. Reeves nodded, almost relieved to finally speak. He's right, Officer Kirkland. We didn't check anything. We just assumed. Dana turned on him. Reeves, watch yourself. But he didn't step back. Marcus stood, smoothing his shirt. I'd like my belongings now. Grant retrieved the briefcase silently. No jokes this time. Dana opened her mouth as if to apologize, but nothing came out. Only a shaky exhale. Marcus took the briefcase. I'll wait in the hall for Director Lin. He walked past them, each step measured, controlled, but his throat tightened, chest aching with the familiar exhaustion of having to justify his existence, his innocence, his right to stand on a public platform. Behind him, Dana's voice cracked in a whisper not meant for him. God, what have we done? And for the first time that morning, Marcus didn't feel alone. This was no longer a misunderstanding. It was the start of a reckoning. Marcus stepped into the hallway outside the holding room, feeling the stale air shift around him. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, but out here, the world felt less suffocating than the interrogation chamber he'd just left. He leaned against the wall, breathing slowly, grounding himself. Inside, voices rose. Dana's sharp frustration, Grant's defensive muttering, Reeves's hesitant protests. The cracks were widening. Footsteps echoed down the hallway. Director Lin appeared at the far end. Crisp suit, calm expression sharpened by anger she didn't bother to hide. 2 transit supervisors accompanied her, their badges glinting under the lights. Mr. Hale, she said as she approached. I'm so sorry this happened. Marcus straightened. Thank you for coming. I came, she said, because this is unacceptable on every level. The precinct door swung open behind them. Dana emerged, stiff and pale. Grant followed, arms folded defensively. Reeves lingered in the doorway, eyes drifting to Marcus with quiet remorse. Director Lin faced the officers. Which of you detained him? Dana stepped forward. I did. Officer Kirkland. And you are? Lin asked sharply, although she already knew the answer. Senior Patrol Officer, Transit Precinct. Then you of all people, Lin said, should understand the importance of verifying identities before escalating to arrest. Dana's jaw clenched. Ma'am, we acted on a report from the station. What report? Lin asked. Where is the written statement? Where is the caller's number? Where is the footage showing any suspicious behavior? Dana hesitated. It was verbal. Passed through dispatch. Lin turned to Marcus. Did they review your identification at any point? No. Grant interjected. He refused to cooperate. Marcus turned his gaze on him. I refused to open my briefcase without being told why I was being detained. That's not resisting. That's a right. Reeves nodded softly. He's telling the truth. Dana shot Reeves a warning look, but he didn't back down this time. Director Lin inhaled sharply. Officer Kirkland, step aside. We need access to the holding room cameras. Dana stiffened. Why? Because your story doesn't match what I've already been told. And because Mr. Hale's position demands transparency. Grant scoffed under his breath. Convenient for him. Lin turned, eyes cold. What did you say? Grant straightened quickly. Nothing, ma'am. Lin continued. Do you realize Mr. Hale outranks every officer in this building regarding transit-related operations? As head of transit security, he is responsible for overseeing your procedures, your conduct, your compliance protocol. And you've started your working relationship with him by arresting him on false grounds. Dana's posture faltered. We couldn't have known. You didn't need to know, Lin snapped. You just needed to follow the law. Dana swallowed hard. If he had said he was the head of security, his job title shouldn't determine how you treat him, Lin said, voice cutting. If he were anyone else, would he still be in that room? Dana's silence was answer enough. Marcus spoke quietly, a tremor beneath his steady tone. I told you this morning. My name should have been enough. Dana's eyes glistened for a moment, just a flicker before she shut it down. One of the supervisors stepped forward, tablet in hand. We've already begun reviewing the platform footage. Grant stiffened. Dana's eyes widened. Lynn nodded. Good. And? The supervisor swiped the tablet, eyes narrowing. So far, there's no suspicious activity from Mr. Hale. He stood calmly. He boarded the train. He stood near the door because the train was full. Everything looks normal. Reeves whispered. I told you. Dana's voice trembled with defensiveness. Maybe he hid something. Maybe he planned. Officer Kirkland, Lynn said sharply. Every second you try to justify this makes it worse. Dana swallowed hard. I didn't mean. Marcus met her eyes. But you did. The hallway fell silent. A transit supervisor turned to Marcus. Sir, would you like to file an immediate complaint? Dana's head jerked, fear flashing across her face. Marcus took a slow breath. Not yet. Dana blinked. Not yet. Marcus nodded. I won't decide anything until I've reviewed the entire situation objectively. I want full footage logs, dispatch recordings, and a list of every officer on shift. Lynn nodded approvingly. Of course. Dana's voice cracked. So you're not pressing charges. Marcus answered softly. Not today. It wasn't mercy. It was patience. Grant folded his arms. This is getting excessive. You're making a big deal out of nothing. Reeves finally snapped. It's not nothing. We cuffed him in public for no reason. Grant scoffed. Everyone gets cuffed. Reeves shook his head. No, not everyone. Not like that. Dana closed her eyes. Lynn stepped forward. Officer Kirkland, Officer Grant. Until further notice, you are removed from active duty pending investigation. Grant's expression twisted. You can't. I can, Lynn said. And I just did. Dana exhaled shakily. Director Lynn, please. I didn't intend. You intended exactly what you did, Lynn said quietly. But intent is not the measure here. Impact is. Silence. Reeves looked at Marcus again, hesitant but hopeful. If you need a statement, sir. I'll give one. Marcus nodded. I appreciate that. As Lynn guided Marcus toward the exit, Dana reached out instinctively, then stopped herself. Her voice broke in a whisper. Mr. Hale. I didn't know. If I had known. Marcus turned to her, gaze steady but wounded. That's the problem, officer. You only respect what you recognize, not who you confront. The words hit harder than any reprimand, and they would echo long after he walked away. The conference room on the 5th floor of the Transit Oversight Building was cold enough to make Marcus's fingers stiff. He sat at one end of a glossy oak table, a small cup of untouched coffee beside him. Across from him, 3 members of the internal review panel whispered among themselves, shuffling through documents and digital reports. Dana Kirkland sat several chairs down, posture rigid, uniform immaculate, jaw tight. Grant sat beside her, arms crossed, trying to look unfazed but failing. Officer Reeves occupied a far corner seat, shoulders tense, hands folded nervously. Director Lynn stood behind Marcus, silent but present, a pillar reinforcing the truth. The chairwoman of the panel cleared her throat. We're here to review the detainment of Mr. Marcus Hale, incoming head of transit security. We will hear the officer's account first. Dana straightened. Ma'am, we responded to a report of suspicious behavior. The subject, Mr. Hale, matched the description. Marcus remained still, listening. The chairwoman asked, what was the exact description? Dana hesitated. Black male, mid-40s, dark jacket, gray slacks. And the behavior. Dana looked down at her notes. Surveying the train. Watching people closely. Standing near the exit. Marcus spoke calmly. Standing near the exit is what commuters do when the train is full. Dana ignored him. It matched typical pre-incident behavior. Director Lynn stepped forward. Define typical. Dana faltered. What's recorded in our threat assessments? Or, Lynn countered, what you've been conditioned to believe. Grant interjected. Look, we didn't have time to analyze psychological profiles. We went with what we saw. What you thought you saw, Lynn corrected. The chairwoman tapped her pen. Officer Kirkland, did you run Mr. Hale's ID before detaining him? No, she admitted quietly. Did you search his belongings before detaining him? No. Did you check platform cameras? No. The chairwoman turned to Grant. Did you? No, he said. We were focused on control. Reeves looked down at his hands. Marcus finally leaned forward. May I speak? The chairwoman nodded. Marcus's voice was steady, but the room felt his exhaustion. I requested verification of my identity. They refused. I offered an explanation for my presence. They dismissed it. I asked for transparency. They ignored me. At no point did either officer attempt to de-escalate. At no point did they even question whether the report they claimed existed was valid. Grant scoffed. We didn't have to de-escalate. You weren't cooperating. Marcus met his stare. I responded to every question. I complied with every direction until you ordered me to turn around without cause. You raised your voice. No, Marcus said. I spoke calmly. Your body camera will confirm that. The supervisor from earlier entered quietly, handing the panel a tablet. We have the footage loaded. Dana's breath hitched. The chairwoman played the platform video. The room watched. Marcus standing quietly. Passengers moving normally. Dana approaching with immediate hostility. Grant smirking. Marcus lowering his hands, showing openness. Dana cuffing him before any verification. The panelists exchanged troubled glances. The chairwoman asked, Officer Kirkland, where in this footage is the suspicious behavior? Dana stared at the table. It's not visible here. Because it didn't happen, Marcus said softly. Grant muttered, maybe it happened off camera. Lynn stepped forward. Officer Grant, your comments are not helpful. Nor are they factual. Fine, Grant snapped. Maybe he acted suspicious before we arrived. Reeves finally spoke up, voice shaky. No. He didn't. Dana turned sharply. Reeves. He held up a hand. No. I'm not lying for you. I watched him. He looked like any other commuter. You escalated the moment you saw him. Dana's face went pale. The chairwoman asked, Officer Reeves, did you feel the detainment was justified? Reeves swallowed hard. No, ma'am. I didn't. But I didn't know how to say that at the time. Lynn nodded slowly. This is the problem. Silence enabling misconduct. Reeves looked at Marcus. I'm sorry, sir. I should have spoken up. Marcus offered a small, tired nod. Thank you for your honesty. Dana suddenly sat forward, frustration boiling beneath her restraint. Look, I'm not a racist. I didn't target him because he's black. I followed protocol. Marcus responded with a heartbreaking calm. Protocol doesn't ask you to escalate without evidence. Protocol doesn't ask you to assume threat before humanity. Protocol doesn't instruct you to cuff someone in public humiliation before verifying a single detail. Dana pressed her palms against the table. I made a judgment. A biased one, Marcus said, voice low. One you've probably made many times before. Dana bristled. That's not fair. It's not supposed to be fair, he said quietly. It's supposed to be honest. The chairwoman interjected. Officer Kirkland, your reasoning for the arrest appears unsupported by evidence. Combined with your refusal to verify identity or engage in de-escalation, this raises significant concerns. Grant leaned forward. So what, we're scapegoats now? Lynn's voice was unforgiving. Accountability is not scapegoating. The panel reviewed dispatch logs next. Nothing about a suspicious passenger existed. No caller number. No timestamp. No recording. The chairwoman looked up. There was no report. Dana's eyes widened. That can't be right. Grant shook his head. We heard it. Reeves whispered. No. You assumed it. Dispatch never confirmed it. The truth settled like a stone. Dana's voice broke. I thought. Marcus inhaled deeply. You thought danger looked like me. The room fell silent. Finally, the chairwoman said, This investigation will proceed to disciplinary review. Officer Kirkland, Officer Grant. Your conduct reflects misuse of authority, failure to follow procedure, and actions leading to discriminatory detainment. Dana covered her mouth with her hand, trembling. Grant looked away, jaw tight. Reeves exhaled shakily, as though releasing a weight he'd carried since the platform. Marcus stood, feeling both vindicated and unbearably tired. I don't want revenge, he said quietly. I want change. If this ends with only punishment, then nothing improves. The chairwoman nodded. Your statement will be included in the final report. Marcus gathered his briefcase. As he walked out, Dana whispered to herself, but everyone heard. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Marcus didn't turn back. Injustice never meant to go this far. Simply always did. The video hit the internet before lunchtime. At first, it was just a shaky clip posted by a commuter. Officer Dana Kirkland approaching Marcus with sharp, aggressive body language. Grant smirking in the background. The cuffs clicking shut around Marcus's wrists. The gasps of onlookers. Within 3 hours, it was on every major social platform. Within 6, local news stations were replaying it with commentary. By evening, Marcus's name was trending, alongside words like racial profiling, abuse of power, and public humiliation. Marcus sat on the edge of his couch that night, hands clasped tightly together. His phone vibrated every few seconds. Messages from colleagues, apologies from transit staff, statements from advocacy groups, interview requests from reporters. He ignored them all. A soft knock came at his door. He opened it to find his longtime friend, Jordan, holding 2 containers of takeout and giving him the look of someone worried but trying to hide it. You eat anything today? Jordan asked. Barely. Jordan stepped inside. Then we're fixing that. They sat at the small kitchen table. Marcus opened the food, but his appetite was thin. Jordan shook his head. This is blowing up, man. I know. They're replaying the cuffs on loop. Even the slow-motion version. Marcus let out a humorless exhale. Great. Jordan set his container down. How you holding up? Marcus didn't answer immediately. He stared at his hands, steady now, but they had trembled earlier. I don't know, he finally whispered. It feels surreal. Like I'm watching someone else get humiliated. Jordan leaned forward, voice softened. But it wasn't someone else. No, Marcus swallowed. It was me. The silence between them thickened. Jordan looked him over. Was it as bad as it looked? Marcus stared at the table. It was worse. They didn't even check who I was. They didn't ask. They didn't care. He drew a shaky breath. I felt like I was shrinking. Like every word I said made me look guilty. Jordan's jaw tightened. Because that's how they wanted you to feel. Control. Power. Fear. Marcus nodded. I've dealt with bias before, but this, being cuffed in public, treated like a threat before a person. I kept thinking, what if the crowd wasn't there? What if the cameras weren't there? What would have happened to me? Jordan reached across the table, squeezing his forearm. You're alive. Home. And the truth is coming out. But the anger, the humiliation. Marcus's voice broke for the first time. It's not going away. Jordan didn't speak. He didn't have to. The next morning, the backlash erupted in full force. At the Transit Oversight Building, employees gathered in clusters around screens. Clips played with commentary from legal experts, civil rights advocates, and former officers critical of Dana's conduct. Director Lynn entered Marcus's office, closing the door behind her. How are you holding up? Marcus gave her a tired smile. "I've been better." She nodded solemnly. "You're handling this with more dignity than most people could." "I don't feel dignified," he admitted. "You don't have to feel it to show it." Marcus looked toward the small TV on his wall, where a news anchor replayed snippets of the platform footage. Each time the cuffs clicked shut, Marcus flinched. Lynn sighed. "Officer Kirkland has been removed from duty pending formal review. Grant as well." Marcus didn't react. "And Reeves? We've scheduled a separate interview with him. His honesty will be documented." Marcus nodded, relieved. A loud notification ping sounded on Lynn's phone. She checked it and exhaled sharply. "It's escalating. People are calling for termination. Some for prosecution." Marcus rubbed his forehead. This wasn't supposed to become a public spectacle. Lynn sat across from him. "Marcus, this was already a spectacle. You just didn't have a camera." He looked down. "I don't want this to destroy lives. I want accountability, but I don't want to feed a mob." "That's why you're the right person for your position," Lynn said. "You're not driven by revenge." Marcus closed his eyes. "But trauma still feels like trauma." Lynn placed a hand on the table. "You don't have to be okay right now. This kind of violation hits deeper than procedure." A knock sounded, and Reeves stepped into the office hesitantly. "Mr. Hale." "Director Lynn. Do you have a moment?" Lynn nodded. "Come in." Reeves closed the door behind him, shoulders hunched. I wanted to apologize again. I should have said something on the platform. I knew it didn't look right." Marcus softened. "You did the right thing eventually. That matters." Reeves shook his head. "I joined the force to do good. Nalis, seeing you cuffed like that. It didn't sit right." He swallowed. "People were watching you like you were a criminal." Marcus's chest tightened. "That's what happens when authority labels you a threat." Reeves nodded. "I'm giving a full statement today. I'll tell them everything." Marcus met his eyes. "Thank you." Reeves hesitated. "They're saying Officer Kirkland is worried about losing her job." Lynn crossed her arms. "Her worry comes after her choices, not before." Reeves nodded again, then slipped out quietly. As the door closed, Marcus let out a heavy exhale. Jordan called a few minutes later. Marcus put him on speaker. "You seeing the news?" Jordan asked. "They're tearing those officers apart." Marcus winced. "I didn't want it to get this big." "Marcus," Jordan said gently, "racism is always big. People just pretend it's small until footage proves otherwise." Marcus looked out the window at the city stretching beyond. "I'm trying to process what this means for me. For my role. For everything." "When you take that podium one day," Jordan said, "people are going to listen. Not because you were wronged, but because you stayed steady." Marcus whispered, "I don't feel steady." "Yeah," Jordan replied softly. "That's why it matters." The day wore on. The footage kept circulating. People debated, argued, condemned. Some defended the officers. Most did not. Marcus sat in his office long after sunset, the city lights flickering through the glass. In the reflection, he saw a man who looked composed, until you noticed the tremor in his hands, the exhaustion in his eyes. He whispered to himself, "I shouldn't have needed a title to be treated like a person." And the room stayed quiet, holding his grief like a shadow. The small conference room on the third floor had glass walls, but Director Lynn had dimmed them to opaque before leaving Marcus alone inside. She'd said softly, "She asked to speak with you. You don't have to accept." But Marcus had nodded. He didn't know if it was closure he wanted, or simply truth. Soft knock sounded. Marcus didn't look up. "Come in." The door opened hesitantly, almost timidly. Dana Kirkland stepped inside, uniform neat but eyes swollen from lack of sleep. She closed the door behind her and stood there for a moment, unsure how to move. "Mr. Hale," she said quietly. "Officer Kirkland," Marcus replied, voice even. She tried for a smile, but it collapsed almost immediately. "Can I sit?" Marcus gestured to the chair across from him. Dana sat stiffly, hands clasped so tightly her knuckles whitened. For several seconds neither spoke. The ticking of the wall clock grew loud in the silence. Finally Dana exhaled shakily. "I didn't come to argue. I know what the footage shows. I know how it looks." Marcus looked at her directly. "The footage shows what happened, not how it looks." Her lips trembled. "I didn't plan to treat you like that." "But you did," Marcus answered softly. Dana nodded, swallowing hard. "I know. And I want to explain." Marcus remained still. "Then explain." Dana's voice cracked. "I made a judgment call. Bad one. I thought." She stopped, correcting herself. "No, I assumed you were someone to watch closely. Someone who could be a threat." Marcus said nothing. Dana looked down at her hands. "I've been on the force for 11 years. You see patterns, behaviors. You learn what could escalate. I thought I recognized something." Marcus leaned forward slightly. "Did it ever occur to you that the pattern you recognized was not threat, but bias?" Dana closed her eyes. "Yes, now it does. But at the time, everything happens fast. You make decisions based on experience." "Whose experience?" Marcus asked quietly. "Yours. Or the system that trained you to see danger in someone who looks like me." Dana's breath stuttered. "I'm not racist." Marcus didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "Racism isn't always shouting slurs or violent aggression, Officer Kirkland. It's assumptions. It's escalation before understanding. It's believing your fear is more valid than my dignity." Dana looked up, eyes wet. "I didn't realize that day would change everything." "It didn't just change a day," Marcus said. "It changed how people saw me, how I walked through that platform, how I looked at myself in the mirror. It wasn't just an incident. It was a wound." Dana flinched visibly. "I'm sorry. I know sorry won't fix it." "No," Marcus said softly. "It won't." She clasped her hands tighter. "When the news ran the story, people started messaging me, calling me names, sending threats. My family, they're scared for me. My daughter saw the footage and asked why mommy was hurting a man who didn't do anything." Marcus's expression shifted, not softened but deepened. "Your daughter is asking the right question." Dana wiped her eyes quickly. "I didn't come here to ask for pity. I just needed you to know I'm not a monster. I made mistakes, big ones. But I'm not hateful." Marcus nodded slowly. "I believe you're not hateful. But the impact remains the same." Dana stared at him, searching his face. "If I could undo it, I would." "But that's the thing," Marcus said. "You can't undo it. You can only learn from it, and accept the consequences." A trembling silence. Dana finally whispered, "Do you want me fired?" Marcus shook his head. "What I want is accountability. Not destruction. But accountability has weight. And you will feel that." Dana swallowed. "I already do." Marcus's voice gentled slightly, though the firmness remained. "The system gave you authority. But it didn't teach you how to question your instincts. It didn't teach you to pause, to see the human being in front of you. That gap. That is where the harm lives." Dana nodded, tears streaming quietly. "I want to do better. I really do." Marcus looked at her, exhausted, hurt, but grounded. "Then start by understanding why what you did was wrong. Not just because it blew up publicly. Not just because I have a title. But because you stripped a man of his humanity before you asked a single real question." Dana's breath broke audibly. "You're right." Reeves suddenly appeared at the door, unsure if he should interrupt. "Sorry. Director Lin said to let you know the panel is reconvening in 15 minutes. Marcus nodded. "We'll be there soon." Reeves left quietly. Dana wiped her face again. "Mr. Hale, I know you don't owe me anything. But if you could believe that I want to make this right. Marcus interrupted gently. You can't make it right for me. What you can do is make sure it never happens to someone else. Dana nodded slowly. I will. Marcus stood. Dana hesitated, then stood as well. She extended her hand with trembling uncertainty. Thank you for hearing me. Marcus looked at her hand. For a moment, he considered not taking it, letting the silence be its own answer. But he finally extended his own hand and shook hers. Not forgiveness, not closure, but acknowledgement. When their hands parted, Dana whispered, Whatever happens next, I deserve it. Marcus nodded once. That's accountability. He walked toward the door. Dana remained still, staring at the table, broken in a way that finally held truth rather than denial. And for the first time, Marcus felt the shift. Not comfort, not victory, but the quiet beginning of change. The disciplinary hearing took place in a large auditorium-style chamber, normally used for transit safety briefings. Today, the atmosphere felt heavier, every breath echoing in the cavernous room as officers, supervisors, legal representatives, and a handful of community observers filed in. Marcus walked in quietly, dressed in a simple charcoal suit. His expression calm but somber. Director Lin guided him toward a reserved seat near the front. He could feel eyes on him, some sympathetic, some curious, some wary. He did not return their stares. Dana and Grant entered moments later, escorted by internal affairs officers. Dana looked smaller today, uniform crisp but spirit visibly shaken. Grant, meanwhile, wore the brittle bravado of someone trying to mask dread with indifference. The panel chairwoman spoke into the microphone. We are here to review findings regarding the detainment of Mr. Marcus Hale by officers Dana Kirkland and Benjamin Grant. Grant corrected sharply. It's Ben. She didn't even look at him. Officer Grant, this is not the time for corrections. Snickers rippled through the audience. Grant's jaw twitched. The chairwoman continued. We've reviewed footage, witness statements, dispatch records, and the officers' reports. She glanced toward Marcus. Mr. Hale, thank you for providing a detailed account. Marcus nodded once, acknowledging. Dana shifted in her seat. The chairwoman addressed her first. Officer Kirkland, do you wish to make a final statement before we deliberate? Dana straightened. When she spoke, her voice shook but didn't falter. I do. She turned slightly toward Marcus. Mr. Hale, I acted on instinct. Wrong instinct. I misjudged you based on assumptions I shouldn't have held. I failed to verify your identity. I escalated instead of de-escalating. I let my unconscious bias guide my decisions. She swallowed. And I humiliated you publicly. I'm sorry. The room remained utterly silent. She went on, voice cracking. My actions damaged not only you, but the trust the public has in this department. Whatever consequences you determine, professional, personal, I will accept. Grant rolled his eyes. This is ridiculous. We acted on what we knew at the moment. We didn't have time to analyze every detail. The chairwoman fixed him with a cold stare. Officer Grant, your conduct after the incident has been equally concerning, including comments caught on internal camera dismissing the severity of the situation. Grant sat up. So I'm not allowed to talk to colleagues now? You are not allowed to mock an active investigation, she replied. Nor are you entitled to dismiss the impact of wrongful detainment. Grant's face flushed. Everyone's acting like we assaulted him. We cuffed him. That's normal procedure. Marcus finally spoke. You cuffed me before asking who I was, without verifying a single detail, while smirking as if my humiliation amused you. Grant scoffed. Look, it got blown out of proportion. No, Marcus said calmly. It got exposed. Dana lowered her gaze. Grant glared at the table. The chairwoman lifted a stack of documents. Based on our findings, Officer Benjamin Grant, your lack of accountability, demonstrated bias, refusal to accept procedural guidance, and unprofessional conduct during and after the incident constitute grounds for termination. Grant shot to his feet. Termination? You can't be serious. Two internal affairs officers stepped closer. Grant's voice rose, cracking. This is political. This is because he's... Sit down, the chairwoman ordered sharply. Grant sat slowly, chest heaving, face burning with humiliation. The chairwoman turned to Dana. Officer Kirkland, your record shows strong performance in some areas, but repeated complaints regarding escalated stops of minority passengers. While not all substantiated, they reveal a concerning pattern. Dana closed her eyes. Your willingness to accept responsibility today is noted. Therefore, the board issues the following: immediate suspension without pay for 8 weeks, mandatory de-escalation and anti-bias retraining, and probationary oversight for 1 year. Any infraction during this period will result in termination. Dana nodded, tears escaping. Thank you for the opportunity to correct my course. Grant muttered under his breath. Unbelievable. Dana turned sharply. Ben, stop. This is our fault. Grant snapped. Speak for yourself. Marcus watched them. He felt complicated. Not triumphant. Not relieved. The justice felt necessary, not celebratory. Like the closing of a wound that had not yet healed. The chairwoman then addressed Marcus directly. Mr. Hale, would you like to add anything before we conclude? Marcus stood slowly. The room grew still. I didn't ask for any of this, he began softly. I didn't want to become a headline or a case file or a cautionary video. He breathed out. I wanted to ride a train to work. He looked at Dana, not unkindly but honestly. You didn't know who I was that morning. And that's the point. My title shouldn't determine my treatment. My position shouldn't protect me. My humanity should have. Dana nodded through tears. He turned briefly toward Grant, who looked away angrily. And officers who smirk through someone's humiliation become part of the problem. The public sees that and decides they can't trust the people meant to protect them. Grant's fist tightened, but he said nothing. Marcus continued. I don't want vengeance. I want a culture where a man doesn't need a badge or a title to be treated with dignity. He paused. His voice steady but weighted. And I hope this is the first step, not just a reaction to outrage, but a commitment to change. The room exhaled collectively. Some moved, some thoughtful, some uncomfortable. The chairwoman nodded solemnly. Thank you, Mr. Hale. That concludes this review. As the meeting adjourned, people began whispering. Some approached Marcus to shake his hand. Others avoided him, unsure what to say. Dana approached him slowly. Thank you, she whispered, voice trembling. For being fair. More fair than I deserved. Marcus nodded. Take the time to learn. Let this change you. She wiped her eyes. It will. Grant stormed out of the room without looking back. Lynn approached Marcus. Are you ready for tomorrow? Marcus raised an eyebrow. Tomorrow? Your first official day, she said with a soft smile. As head of transit security. Marcus exhaled, the weight settling differently now. Ready or not, it's here. Lynn nodded. And people will listen. Marcus looked back at the emptying room, the space where accountability had finally cracked the armor of a flawed system. Poetic justice was not loud or triumphant. It was steady, necessary, and only the beginning. The morning air at Easton Central Station carried a faint chill, the kind that woke the nerves gently, not sharply. Marcus stepped onto the platform just as the first wave of commuters began to fill the space. Sunlight filtered through the steel beams overhead, casting long diagonal shadows across the concrete. He paused for a moment, letting the sounds wash over him. The rumble of approaching trains. The step. Murmured conversations. The distant squeal of metal. Life returning to routine. But for Marcus, nothing about this platform felt routine anymore. He walked slowly along the yellow safety line, hands resting loosely in his pockets. The spot where he'd been cuffed was just ahead. He recognized the same tiled wall, the same pillar, the same scuff marks on the floor. A familiar ache rose in his chest, but it didn't crush him this time. "Morning, sir." Marcus turned. Officer Reeves stood a few feet away, nervous but smiling earnestly. His uniform looked sharper than before, his posture straighter. "Officer Reeves," Marcus greeted. "You're on morning shift." "Yes, sir. Thought I'd keep an eye on things." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "You always keep an eye on things." Reeves chuckled awkwardly. "Trying to. Better this time. More aware. Less silent." Marcus nodded, appreciating the honesty. "Silence can be dangerous." "I know that now," Reeves said quietly. "I'm working on it." Marcus studied him. "And how are things at the precinct?" Reeves hesitated. "Different. People are talking, asking questions they didn't before. Some are uncomfortable. But it feels like a start." "A start," Marcus repeated softly. "That's good." Reeves stepped closer. "Sir, I just wanted to say again, I'm sorry. Really sorry. I should have acted sooner." Marcus placed a gentle hand on the young officer's shoulder. "What matters now is what you do next. How you speak up for the next person who needs it." Reeves nodded, eyes bright with something like conviction. A train horn echoed in the distance. "Your first day as head of security?" Reeves asked. Marcus smiled faintly. "Feels strange hearing it out loud." "You earned it," Reeves said. Then almost shyly, "And you'll make things better." Marcus didn't respond immediately. He looked around instead, at commuters chatting, parents guiding children, workers sipping coffee, students checking schedules. Ordinary people in an ordinary station. Except nothing about the moment felt ordinary to him. When Marcus finally spoke, his voice was low but clear. "I don't want to make things better because of what happened to me. I want to make them better because it shouldn't take pain to spark change." Reeves nodded solemnly. "I'm with you." The train pulled closer, slowing as it screeched along the tracks. Wind rushed forward, stirring the hem of Marcus's coat. Doors slid open and commuters flowed inside. Reeves stepped aside. "Have a good first day, sir." "Thank you, Officer Reeves." Marcus boarded the train but paused at the doorway. He glanced back at the platform, watching sunlight spill across the concrete. Watching Reeves greet passengers with a quiet vigilance shaped not by fear, but by responsibility. And for the first time since the incident, Marcus felt something soften inside him. The train doors closed, sealing him into the carriage where everything began. He took a seat by the window. The same type of seat he'd taken that morning. The same kind of morning. But he was not the same man. A woman across from him looked up from her phone. Recognition flickered in her eyes. "Excuse me. Are you the man from the video?" Marcus inhaled gently. "Yes." She lowered her phone. "What they did to you. I'm glad you spoke up. A lot of people wouldn't have." "I didn't speak for attention," he said. "I spoke because silence lets harm repeat." She nodded, moved. "Well, thank you. Truly." Marcus offered her a small, warm smile. "You're welcome." The train jerked as it began to move. He turned toward the window. The platform slid out of view, replaced by streaks of sunlight and shadow. His reflection stared back. Calm, older somehow, not defeated but reshaped. Marcus whispered to himself, barely audible. "It shouldn't take a title to be treated like a human being." The words floated against the glass, the quiet companion of a man who had survived humiliation, navigated truth, demanded accountability, and now stepped into leadership, not as a symbol of victory, but as a reminder of what still needed to change. He closed his eyes briefly as the train gained speed. A new morning, a new platform, a new beginning. But the work ahead, his work, was only just beginning.